I never met my grandmother. She died 6 months before I was born. I only knew her from stories and faded photographs. But last night, she walked into my dream, called me by my full name, and told me things about my life that no one else could possibly know. This story feels different from the others I've shared on True Dream Tales. The others were about people I held, loved, lost in my lifetime. This one is about someone I never touched, never heard her voice, never felt her hand in mine. Yet last night, she felt more real than anyone I've ever known. If you've ever felt a connection to an ancestor you never met, if family stories have ever made you wonder if blood remembers, if you long for a link to the past that goes beyond photos and tales, this is for you. Because last night, my grandmother Eleanor came to me, not as a ghost, not as a vague feeling, but as herself, alive, knowing me completely. Her name was Eleanor Grace Thompson, born in 1932 in a small Midwest town, the kind with one stoplight, cornfields stretching forever, and church bells on Sundays. She was the youngest of 8 kids, grew up during the Depression, picking crops alongside her brothers, learning to stretch $1 until it screamed. But everyone who ever talked about her said the same thing. She had light, a quiet, steady light that made hard times bearable. She married my grandfather in 1954, a quiet mechanic with kind eyes and callous hands. They built a life together. 4 children, a little white house with blue shutters, a garden that fed the neighborhood, Sunday dinners that lasted hours. She was the heart of it all, baking apple pies from scratch, sewing quilts that told stories in every patch, singing old hymns while doing dishes, telling bedtime stories that made my dad and his siblings believe in magic. My dad still tears up talking about her, how she'd sit on the porch swing in the evenings, rocking slowly, humming tunes from the 1940s. How she'd know when you were hurting before you said a word. How she'd wrap you in a hug that smelled like lavender soap and fresh bread. But in 1989, cancer came. Aggressive, she fought for 2 years. Kept gardening until she couldn't stand. Kept singing until her voice was a whisper. Kept loving until the very end. She passed in the spring of 1991, 6 months before I took my first breath. My mom was pregnant with me when Grandma Eleanor died. She went into labor the day of the funeral. Stress, the doctor said, but I was born healthy. And my parents gave me her middle name as my own, Grace. A quiet promise to carry her forward. I grew up surrounded by her, not in person, but in presence. Her quilts on every bed, her recipes in the family cookbook, her photographs on the mantle, that gentle smile, gray hair pulled into a bun, eyes that seemed to follow you with love. Family gatherings were full of Eleanor stories. How she'd sneak extra cookies to the kids. How she'd pray over every newborn. How she'd say, blood remembers. Love travels further than we think. I'd sit and listen, feeling this strange ache, like I'd missed something essential, like there was a hole shaped exactly like her in my life. I'd stare at her pictures and whisper questions. Do you know me? Do you see me? Are you proud of who I'm becoming? No answer, just silence. Until last night, I'd had a long day. One of those where the weight of adult life presses hard. Work stress, family worries, that quiet loneliness that creeps in sometimes. I flipped through an old family album before bed, stopped on her photo, touched the page, whispered, I wish I'd known you. Then I fell asleep, and the dream began. I found myself standing in a garden, not just any garden, the garden from the stories, Grandma Eleanor's garden, rows of tomatoes heavy with fruit, sunflowers taller than me, rose bushes in full bloom, the air thick with earth and flowers and summer warmth, late afternoon light, golden, soft, endless, butterflies drifting lazily, a wooden porch swing, creaking gently in the breeze. I looked down at my hands. They felt lighter, like childhood. Then I heard humming, a melody I knew but couldn't place, an ode my dad hums when he's fixing things. I followed the sound. Around the corner of the little white house with blue shutters, there she was, Grandma Eleanor, exactly as in the photographs, but alive. gray hair in a perfect bun, simple floral dress, apron tied around her waist, hands dusted with flour. She was kneeling by a rose bush, pruning gently. She looked up and smiled, not a generic smile. The smile meant for me. She stood, steady, strong, and said my full name. Your full name, Grace, my sweet grandchild. Her voice, warm, a little husky from years of singing, full of love that wrapped around me like a quilt. I froze. How do you know my name? She laughed softly, the sound of wind chimes and home. Oh, darling, I've known you since the moment you were conceived. I was there when your mama felt those first kicks. I held her hand in spirit when she cried at my funeral, knowing she was carrying you. I've watched every step, every birthday candle, every heartbreak, every triumph. I walked closer, tears already starting. You've seen me? She nodded. Every day, blood remembers, love travels. She opened her arms. I ran into them. Her hug, I can't explain it. It was everything I'd imagined a grandmother's hug would be. Soft, safe, smelling of lavender and fresh bread and earth after rain. She was shorter than me, but held me like I was small again. She stroked my hair. My beautiful grandchild, you have my eyes, and your grandfather's stubborn chin. We sat on the porch swing. She rocked us gently, and she talked, not vague platitudes, specific, impossible things. She told me about the day I was born, how my mom whispered her name in the delivery room, when I cried my first cry, how my dad held me up and said, "She's here, Mom, our Grace." She knew about my childhood, the time I fell off my bike at 7 and needed stitches, how I cried not from pain, but because I was scared of disappointing my parents. She'd been there in spirit. She knew about my teenage years, the first heartbreak, the late-night studying, the quiet doubts about whether I was enough. She knew about adulthood, the job I almost quit last year, the friend who betrayed me, the small victories I never told anyone. She knew my secrets, the ones I barely admit to myself, and she spoke to everyone. You are enough, more than enough. You carry my strength, the strength that got me through depression, through losing babies, through war rationing. You carry your grandfather's kindness. You are exactly who you were meant to be. I asked questions, a flood of them. What was it like growing up with 8 siblings? She told stories I'd never heard. Funny ones, tender ones, hard ones. What was my dad like as a little boy? She laughed. Stubborn. Always building things. Always protecting the smaller kids. Just like you. What do you want me to know? She grew serious. That love doesn't end with breath. That family is eternal. That every quilt I made, every prayer I prayed, every song I sang, all wrapped around the future. Around you. I never got to hold you in life, but I've held you in every other way. And now, I finally get to say it in person. She took my hands. I love you. I'm proud of you. I'm always here. When you smell lavender on a day with no flowers, when you hear that hymn on the radio, when you feel peace for no reason, that's me. Keep going. Keep loving. Keep carrying the light. One day we'll sit on this swing for real. No dream. No distance. We rocked in silence for a long time. Just being. She showed me the garden, pointed out roses she planted the year before she died, showed me the stars coming out, same stars I wished on for my grandchildren. Then the light began to soften. She stood, held my face in her hands, hands wrinkled, strong, loving. My time here is short, but remember this moment. Carry it. You were never without me. You never will be. She kissed my forehead. I love you, my Grace. To the moon and all the way back. I reached for her. Don't go. She smiled. I'm not going far. Then she walked toward the garden, became part of the golden light, and gently faded. I woke up with tears on my cheeks, but not sad tears. Full ones, grateful ones. The room smelled faintly of lavender. I lay there until sunrise, feeling her presence linger. Then I called my dad. Told him everything. He cried, said she always said she'd find a way to meet you. We went through old albums together that day. Found letters she'd written my mom during pregnancy, addressing me by name, praying over me. Found a quilt square she'd started but never finished, my name embroidered in the corner. I felt different since. Lighter, connected, like a missing piece clicked into place. Grandma Eleanor taught me that love isn't limited by time, that ancestors aren't just stories. They're roots, they're wings, they're waiting, watching, loving. Maybe tonight, yours will visit too. If you've ever felt an ancestor you never met, or had a dream that bridged generations, share it below. Their name, what they showed you, because these stories connect us all. Thank you for letting me share Grandma Eleanor. She'd be thrilled knowing she reached so many. And Grandma, if you're listening, I felt you. I carry you. I love you. See you on the swing someday.